Hey, in this video you will learn what's Power Query. That's what is it, how it works, and why it is a must if you work with Power BI or Excel. But before we begin, here are some timestamps in case you want to skip the specific parts of the video. Okay, let's begin. So what's Power Query? Think of Power Query as a middle layer between a data source and either Power BI or Excel. What happens in this layer? Well, you connect to data, transform it, then you can merge different data sources, and finally you load all the transformed data into Power BI or Excel. Power Query is available on Excel and Power BI for Windows, and on Mac it's available only for Excel. You don't have to download anything, it already comes bundled with the latest versions of those softwares. Now that you have a little bit of context of what's Power Query, let's get into my computer and let's see how it works. To open Power Query in Excel, we'll go to the Data tab and we'll look for the first option, Get Data. The cool thing about Power Query is that you can import data from a lot of different sources. You can import data from Excel workbooks, CSVs, PDFs. You can also import data directly from multiple databases. Also from Azure. You can even do web scraping and get data directly from a website. Okay, so in this case, I'm gonna go and select import data from Excel workbook. This will open a browser. Here I have my Excel file. I'll just click on it and go to import. Okay, this will open a screen called the Navigator. The Navigator lets us do a preview of the data in the file that we selected, or the data source. Here, if I click on this table, sales 1, I have all the information about sales. Or if I come here to customers, I have all that information. I want to import data both from customers and sales. So I'll click on this option and I'll check the customers tab and the sales tab. And once I've done that, I'll come here to transform data. You can also load the data directly to the Excel file, but it's always good to transform it first. Okay, so this is Power Query. As you can see, we have both our tables here. If I click on either of them, we'll have a preview of the data. In the top bar, we have all the different tools we can use to transform the data we just imported. Here on the right, we have a log of all the steps we will apply on the data. In Power BI, actually Power Query is part of your workflow. So once you import data into Power BI, let's do the same process as in Excel. You'll also have the Navigator screen and you'll check on the tables that you want to import, and you can also load them or transform them. As you can see, the layout is exactly the same. You have the tables you've imported on the left, data preview on the middle, and on the right you have all the applied steps. What kind of transformations you can do with Power Query? Well, as you can see, here I have my sales data, and I'm gonna look for my product ID column. Let's say I want to have a separate column with just the first 3 letters of each record. I'll come here to the tools, to the transform tab, and I'll look for the split column tool. And here are a lot of options with which we can use the split column tool. So I'll choose the first one by delimiter, and I'll split it by the left delimiter, and I'll use this dash. Okay, that's great. Now, I want to create a new merged column. With that column I just separated, and let's say I want to add it to each record of this order ID column. Instead of splitting, I'll left click on it and look for merge columns. It says if I want a separator, let's add a custom one, a dash also, and I call it order ID new. Okay, so here we have it. Great. Now let's say we also need to filter this data set for the region column. and we only want the central and east regions. I'll click on OK. I also want to add a new column that gives us sales but with a 13% tax. So I'll come here to add column, custom column. I'll name the new column sales plus tax, and I'll look for sales right here multiplied by 1.13. Okay, here we have the new column, and we can also do more complex transformations. So let's say I want to group all my data just by my customer IDs and by category. So I'll come here to transform, I'll select the group by tool, and I'll say that I want to group by customer ID, and okay, here's the category, and I want to have the sum of sales for each of those combinations. I'm gonna put sales right here. I'll do a sum of the sales table. Alright, so as you can see, I have for each customer and in each category the total sales added from the whole table. What's the cool thing about it is that Power Query saves all the steps that we applied. So as you can see right here, we have the split column by delimiter step. We also have where we merged columns, filter rows, added a new column, and the group rows step. Here you can do really simple troubleshooting, because if you messed up in a middle step, you can just click on that step and you'll have the data in the state that it was in that step. So you can add new columns or you can fix whatever is not working without losing the rest of your progress. That's okay with sales. I'll go to the customers table, and I just want to put this first row as my table headers. There's a tool for that. Done. And finally, I want to merge both of these data sources. So in the sales table I worked with, I want to add the customer's name, which we didn't have in the original table. So I'll just look for merge queries, another tool, and here I can tell Power Query to combine both data sources. So here I have sales, I'll look for customers, and as you can see in the customers table I have the customer name, and I'll tell Power Query to combine them by the customer ID. Okay. Think of this step as some sort of VLOOKUP, but extremely easier. Okay, here I have my new data, and I just want the customer name. We've transformed and combined our datasets. Now, to import them into Excel, we'll just look for this option called Close and Load in the Home tab, click on it, and this will create new tabs called as our data sources with the data we've transformed into Power Query. Okay, how's the process on Power BI? Well, here I have the same transformations we've just made in Power Query and Excel, and to import them, I'll just look for this button called Close and Apply. I'll click on it, and this will import our datasets as tables that we can use to create visuals in Power BI. The great thing about working with Power Query is that all the steps we did to transform the data will be recorded as code. So the next time we need to refresh the data, we don't need to make all those transformations again. We'll just come to Data and click on Refresh All, and all the new data on the data sources will have the steps applied and will come in this format. What are the main reasons to use Power Query? Well, first of all, it will save you a ton of time. As you can see, you can really automate a lot of the different transformations you usually have to make with Excel data or with data in Power BI for it to be useful for the report or the file that you need to create. Reason number 2, well, it's completely free. So you don't have to pay for an extra add-on or another software for you to create complex transformations. Actually, you can make a lot of advanced things with Power Query. Reason number 3, okay, Power Query is actually pretty easy to learn. As you could see, it's optimized for you to connect to various data sources and to do any kind of transformation that you need. Also, because it has all the steps recorded in the Applied Steps tab, you can really easily do troubleshooting in case there's something that's not working or if you need to add an extra step. Those were the basics on Power Query. As you could see, it's an awesome software for you to use and it will save you a ton of time every day. If you got value from this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for you to keep leveling up your digital skills. Also, here's another video for you to keep learning. Alright, see you in the next one. Bye!